You can come over later. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So it appears that Donald Trump will reportedly make his debut on Joe Rogan this week. In response, Kamala will appeal to her base by appearing on Love After Lockup. First Lady Joe Biden said that Joe dropping out of the race was the right call. Also the right call, the one she made to 1-800-CHAIRLIFT. The McDonald's Corporation says it doesn't have any evidence of Kamala ever working there, though there are rumors of her sleeping with Mayor McCheese. Girl's got to do what she's got to do. Following Trump's visit, the company says it also invited Kamala and Tim Walz to their restaurants. The only stipulation is that Walz not be allowed within 500 feet of the play place. I don't know why. Oh, thank you. A CNN investigation reports how political campaigns are exploiting elderly dementia patients to help fund their cause. Don't I know it, says one man. Saw that one coming, didn't you? Yeah. He didn't. Thank you. Former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries was arrested on criminal sex trafficking charges. He's accused of recruiting young male models for parties. So I guess this means we're not on for the 25th. He said I would be on the cover of the catalog. Kamala Harris is facing another plagiarism accusation. Apparently, she lifted entire passages from another lawyer for her congressional testimony while she was San Francisco DA in 2007. When reached for comment, Harris replied, "If the glove don't fit, you must acquit." I know. Oh, stop it. Was it worth it? I don't know. So last night, Kamala held a town hall, and it had all the spontaneity of synchronized swimming. I wondered, would the audience be able to ask questions?
Are we going to be able to answer questions? You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
Yeah. Sorry, Toots. Sorry, Toots, you're just a prop. And come on, we didn't even give you a primary, and you think we're going to let you ask unscripted questions? Hell, Kamala can't even answer scripted questions. We give her a week in advance. So right off the bat, we got the lay of the land. Another manicured platform for Kamala to blurt out her now legendary word salads. I mean, this broad ought to come to every event with a side of ranch and a bag of croutons. Still, these things cannot be overlooked.
These things cannot be overlooked. And I have said many times publicly, and I'll say it again, in many, many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man.
Yeah, an unserious man. How rich, coming from the candidate who is half Indian, half hyena. But it's Trump who's the unserious person. You know, the guy that built half the NYC skyline, has already been president quite successfully, I might add. The guy who raised a beautiful, successful family that anybody would be proud of. A man who has literally taken a bullet for a job he didn't even need. A man who our adversaries admit they respect and even fear. Yeah, he's the unserious one, you dizzy dumbass. And look at Liz Cheney sitting there. She looks thrilled. It's like she's thinking, I quit my political party and all I got was this lousy wino. But look, I watched the town hall for only one reason, hoping to hear one more time about the nature of a democracy, where I think there's a duality.
The nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
Oh, I never get tired of hearing that. And she never gets tired of saying it.
You know, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy. When it's intact, oh, it's so strong in its nature. And it is very fragile. There's a duality to the nature of democracy. On the one hand, incredible strength when it is intact, incredibly strong, and incredibly fragile.
The nature of democracy, there's a duality to it. On the one hand, it's very strong. When a democracy is intact, it is also very fragile.
Look, Kamala, if you're going to recycle old crap, at least dress it up a bit. Tyrus's idea is always bongos.
The nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
Yep. Now, to most people, she sounds stupid. But is she really? Jim Garrity at National Review suggests maybe she isn't. He says the caricature of Kamala Harris as a bumbling dunce makes it easy to underestimate her. It's kind of like how you root for Jesse Waters despite his glaring incompetence. I mean, look at that. Jim also claims that her skill is really getting Democrats emotionally invested in her. It certainly worked with Willie Brown. But that's more than a joke. It's a fact that getting Dems emotionally invested in her means she gets others to do the work she won't do, whether it's Willie Brown or willing Brown voters. See what I did there? I know. But I get what Jim's saying. Don't just say, wow, she's just a dummy, because even if you're right, no one's going to hear it. People do the same thing with Trump. They overlook his actual deeds and focus on his words. Take the latest. Trump calling Democrat leaders the enemy from within.
Congressman, do you consider Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi to be the enemy from within?
Trump doubled down on his Hitler talking points about the enemy from within.
Donald Trump repeatedly referred to prominent Democrats and others on the left in the United States, American citizens, as, quote, the enemy from within, unquote.
Donald Trump has been given opportunity after opportunity to either downplay or clarify his comments about what he called the enemy from within.
A major party candidate, calling his political opponents, quote, the enemy within.
All that douchebag outrage. Even though Democrats not only said the same thing about enemies within, but they actually acted on it. Remember when these a-holes claimed there was extremism within our military? It was big news until the threat was debunked, then the story went away. Or what about the scourge of white privilege and systemic racism that labeled the majority of people, again, within the country, as oppressors and in need of serious re-education that gave us a divided country, DEI, and a ton of terrible Disney movies? And don't ever forget what they did to anyone during the pandemic who dared to question their BS policies and their lies. So save your outrage. Trump calling Pelosi and Schiff the enemy within is peanuts compared to calling tens of millions of Americans the enemy from within. Hell, you even jailed a bunch of them while letting actual enemies from within, murderers, arsonists, and rapists, go free, which created a new demand on the American public. We now must be diligent all the time. When we're on the streets, on public transportation, about what our kids are being taught in school, who's in our restrooms, who's coming into the country. It's a lot of pressure on us, and we're ready to blow. So that's why the town hall had to be orchestrated. You can't have ordinary people asking a phony candidate questions about the last 4 years. It had to be stage managed, just like it was the last 4 years. Because if you knew the truth, then you'd see the enemy within in all its glory, and you toss it out on its lying ass. Let's welcome Alex Getz! He always gets a laugh when he offers his autograph. Writer and comedian Joe DeVito. She lost her job after standing up to the COVID mob. Founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, Jennifer Say. Her book is selling and her belly is swelling. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Cat Tim. And his back is littered with dead hikers. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion Tyrus. Joe, welcome to the show. As always, it's a mediocre pleasure. They complained over the weekend that the McDonald's visit was staged, and then they come out with this town hall in which the questions are staged, everything's staged, including her answers, which are months to years old.
Yeah, well, when you have Maria Shriver and Kamala in a room, the first question should be, how do you keep your husband from impregnating the help?
Yes.
But the McDonald's, it shows he beats them on his record, and now he's beating them on the joy and the vibes.
Yes.
Because the McDonald's thing shows how much fun Donald Trump can be. And I was blown away by the people in the media who, they thought it was a scoop to say, he wasn't really working it.
Yeah.
Oh, you really think that in the middle of the campaign where people are shooting guns at him, he didn't go into McDonald's and fill out an application and get some references to go through training? Come on. And it shows that, somehow the guy with the spray tan and the orange hair is more real than the candidate they've put forward. And you even look at Tim Walz cosplaying at what he thinks a regular man is. I'm waiting for him to show up at an event in just bib overalls with a straw hanging out of his mouth, like, I'm just a dumb knucklehead like all you morons. Why don't you vote for me? So they're screwed. They don't realize Trump is a master marketer. Because think about it. In Butler, he got shot. A bullet went through his ear. He got tackled by a platoon of Secret Service midgets. He jumps back up. And in that moment, he yelled, fight, fight, fight. Okay? In that moment, he yelled something you can put on merch.
Yes. Speaking of merch, Jennifer, I love you. You were the CEO of Levi Strauss. President of Levi Strauss, and then you got canned because you stood up to all the ridiculous COVID restrictions about keeping your kids home. You spoke up, and you got punished for it, right?
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't mean to correct you. I, unlike Walz, don't like to claim things that I might have done that I didn't do.
Yeah.
So I was never the CEO. I was the president. But I have I lived in San Francisco for 33 years, so I am very familiar with Kamala. I don't live there anymore. I live in Denver. It takes, I don't think she's stupid. I'll just say that.
Right.
I think it takes a lot of skill to use so many words to say so little. And I think that I have seen this in corporate America. I worked in corporate America. I have for 35 years. It's a skill. They say nothing so they can be held to nothing.
Yes.
If you just say a bunch of stuff and you wear this costume of seriousness, and everybody nods along like you're saying something serious and important, and clearly now everybody's like believing it. Not everybody. Half the country is believing it. What can we hold her to, though? Nothing, because she hasn't committed to anything. She's talked about her values and the duality. I mean, I wish she'd talk about the duality of sex.
Yeah, no, she
That
won't.
actually is, there is a binary there, but she doesn't. Anyway, my favorite part of the thing is when she holds it in her hand and she has this little voice, and it's fragile, and she's holding it.
It's like she's got a little baby
Do they
chick.
do they tell her to do that? Is that her own improv?
I think somebody gave her some advice early on, and she stuck with it. But you're
She
right, though.
loves it.
It's exactly like Gavin Newsom in California, which is the ability to say nothing and then walk away. It's like there are reparations. It's like, oh, we'll look into it. We'll have a commission. It sounds like progress, but it's nothing.
Yeah, in boardrooms, people do it all the time. We're going to stare this down. We're going to take a step back. We're going to look at it really hard. And then we're going to take a step back, and we're going to be really serious about the impacts and the results. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. Ugh, it's the worst.
Kat, welcome back. How was your trip?
It's great.
Excellent, excellent. So what did you make of this town hall, if you can make anything of it at all?
It was pretty much what we expected, but I think it's interesting in general that I think both sides kind of think they have this in the bag.
Right.
I think anybody who supports Trump thinks you have to be an idiot to support Kamala, and that Kamala is so stupid. But anybody who supports Kamala thinks you'd have to be an idiot to support Trump. and Trump is stupid. I really do think it's never, ever, ever, ever a good idea to underestimate anybody.
Right. No, I agree.
I think that is how you get really disappointed. When I think of all the times I've been the most disappointed in my life and devastated in my life, it all started with the same thought, which is, this person could never hurt me. So I think if you really are going to put those, let your walls down completely, like, you could be disappointed. I mean, I think we saw that with the debate, right?
Right.
The debate, the bar was set as she's not going to be able to form a full sentence. And then once she did, it's like, whoa!
Yeah.
So I think that there is something to be learned from that. So I thought the piece was really interesting.
What say you, Tyrus?
I don't think she quite understands what duality means. You guys throwing her a curveball. And when you say something's fragile, you don't hold it up high. You bring it in. If Kat was like, Tyrus is like to hold my baby, and I was like, yeah, this is so fragile. This is so great. I don't.
Only if you're reenacting The Lion King.
Yes, of course. But even then, 2 hands.
Yeah.
There's no. She's auditioning to be the leader of the free world, and she's trying to just kind of slide by. When you have the series, and this is the difference between one side and the other. The other side holds, the left holds the right to the absolute minimum. Even a joke is serious. They hold us to the absolute standard. But they literally will do everything that they're complaining about. Mm-hmm. She's never had a town hall. She had a town simulation where the predetermined questions. She had she had a teleprompter that the cameraman, who's probably voting for Trump, just happened to catch and then cut it off immediately. And then when some fan who was probably ushered out said, hey, can we ask questions? No, we have, and here's the best part. They don't even know how to lie good for her anymore. The last thing you should ever say is predetermined questions, which means she already has them and the answers.
Right.
We already have questions written to ask her today by other fans. Sorry. But again, it's those type of behaviors from both of them that kind of make the nanny thing make sense to me.
Yeah.
All right. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.